Oh, thank you so much, Sandra. I'll just take control of the slides and then I'll let you take control back. So thank you for inviting me, Sandra, to the event this afternoon. I am in great company because I'm very looking forward to hear what Judith's going to say. I think I've had the pleasure of hearing Judith speak previously, so it's just lovely to see Judith going to be kind of taking on the second part of this session. So by way of introduction, I'll just tell you a bit about what I'm going to do for the next 20 minutes or so. I'm going to tell you a bit about the professional development and knowledge team at Macmillan Cancer Support, a little bit about our offer, which really is around about the Macmillan Learning and Development Hub, and then spend a bit more time talking about the Macmillan Enhanced Palliative and End-of-Life Care Toolkit. Apologies in advance because I'm conscious that some of the people on the call today will be aware of our toolkit, but it's really just to give me a chance to promote it amongst other professionals that might not be as familiar with our offer. So I'm just going to move to the next slide. So this is the toolkit as it stands just now. However, I would just like to caveat that we have had a recent addition to the toolkit and the slides haven't yet been updated. But really what our professional development and knowledge workstream reflects the Macmillan's organisational priorities, and one of these is palliative and end-of-life care. We've already established an essential e-learning palliative and end-of-life care offer, and that's actually currently being revised with myself and Evelyn Patterson, one of my colleagues just now. But we were really acutely aware that we didn't have something that sat at that more enhanced level offer. So really what this toolkit is trying to achieve is to help upskill, promote confidence, knowledge, experience in professionals that have some understanding of generalist palliative care but want to improve their knowledge and skills. The other thing just to say is that our offer extends to all health and care professionals. It's not just necessarily targeted at Macmillan professionals, and I think maybe in the past that's been a bit of a misconception that our toolkit or indeed the offer that we provide is just purely for Macmillan professionals. So really maybe one of the other key messages just to get across today is that it is open to everyone. And once I've finished the presentation, I'll pop a link in the chat that just allows professionals who haven't maybe already signed up for the Learning Hub, they can access the web page where the sign-in details and actually a short video about the Learning Hub sits as well. So another few things about the toolkit. It's been chunked up very much with the learner in mind, because we know that in our professional practice that we can all be extremely busy. And we wanted to make sure that the components of the toolkit were chunked up, that maybe it might well be as a learner that you could dip in maybe for 10 or 15 minutes for a particular section and then dip back out, because we are conscious that not everyone has maybe hours and hours on end to actually spend working through traditional e-learning modules. So when we think about the components of the toolkit, we start off looking at the pain management and palliative and end-of-life care. And that was the first real component that we wanted to look at, because we know that pain management is something that's not done very well for people end of life. Then we looked at the common palliative and end-of-life care symptoms. And within that, we've picked, the 4 or 5 key symptoms that are predominant in people with palliative and end-of-life care needs. We've also got an e-learning module on palliative care emergencies, and we've signposted also to other communication and palliative and end-of-life care within the learning offer that we have. And finally, we have our person-centred care at end of life, which is on this slide, but we actually have introduced a pain and suffering module that was done in collaboration with 2 academics at the University of Glasgow. So that's a new addition to the toolkit. So who's the toolkit for? As I've said earlier, we're really trying to target professionals and the wider cancer workforce who do have a working knowledge of palliative and end-of-life care, and they want to extend and enhance their skills and knowledge. So it really is at that enhanced level. And I would also say that, you know, maybe as a new palliative care nurse specialist, or that, you know, you are in the kind of field of palliative care and want a refresher, I would say that this also would be appropriate and relevant for you too. So we do have quite a variety of topics and bite-sized learning, and I'm going to give you a bit of a tour of the toolkit just shortly. And hopefully there would be something there for everyone. What we've tried to make sure is that we've steered away from the traditional e-learning way, and there's lots of different interactive and engaging elements within the toolkit to help stimulate us as learners. So there's videos, there's interviews, there's interactive components, and as I say, I will show you that just shortly. So the toolkit is housed within our palliative and end-of-life care community within the Macmillan Hub. And as I said, I will pop a link in the chat to the hub where you can sign up for free. And it would take maybe 1 or 2 days for you to get the sign up information back. But there is also lots of other lovely, interesting resources within the Learning Hub as well that are not just relating to cancer and palliative care. I'm aware that we are, I'm speaking to a primary care audience this afternoon, so we do also have a primary care community too that you might be interested to know more about. So I'm going to just stop there and pause for breath because being Scottish, I like to talk quite fast. And I'm also conscious that maybe people have some questions at this point before I actually show you a bit of the Learning Hub and the Enhanced Palliative and End-of-Life Care Toolkit. I suppose maybe while people are thinking about something, yes, it would be appropriate for primary care GPs and ANPs as well, Esther. Absolutely, yes.
See, Mira's got her hand up.
Hi. Hi, it's interesting, very interesting talk. I actually was looking at, you know, the level of the toolkit. When you say enhanced level, what does that mean? And what does that mean to any practitioner? Or, you know, it'd be great to have a better understanding.
Yeah. And, you know, that's a really good question, Mira. And when we, as a professional, would go in and look at the toolkit, we talk about it being mapped to our Macmillan Person-Centred Care Competency Framework. And in fact, Sandra and I had a conversation about this the other day, didn't we, Sandra? So when we're thinking about enhanced, we're looking at, it's difficult because the toolkit does, it looks at different needs that that person affected by cancer might have. So the toolkit was designed with that in mind. But when we're thinking about an enhanced level offer, it's not a foundation level offer. It's something that would be maybe intermediate. So for me, and when we're looking at this this level of enhanced level, you would already have maybe that foundation knowledge of a particular subject, regardless of whether it was a toolkit or not. So examples of professions that I would say, generalist, a GP that's maybe a GP in practice, or a GP that feels that their palliative care skills could be doing with a bit of a refresh. General nurses, oncology nurses, advanced nurse practitioners that are looking for a bit more information about palliative and end-of-life care, practice nurses. I mean, I think the list can be quite extensive. I don't know if that quite answers your question, Mira, but I think it's definitely not something that would be aimed at if you were just new to palliative and end-of-life care and actually you weren't quite sure what the principles might look like and what we were trying to achieve, if we didn't know maybe what total pain was, or we weren't that familiar with maybe opioid analgesics, for example. So it's taken that maybe that wee bit of a step further up, I would say.
It answers it beautifully. Thank you.
I don't know if it quite did answer it beautifully. I think you're being very kind. But yes, maybe when I show you more, it might make a bit more sense. Does that sound okay? Will I just share screen, Sandra, and just show everybody now?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay. So because I'm now going to share my screen, I won't see anyone. So I'll be relying on Sandra to give me a bit of a guide if people have their hands up and want to ask me any questions. And I've just shared the wrong screen, so bear with me for a second. Sorry about that, everyone.
That's okay.
It's always the same. Here's one I've prepared earlier, but just try that again. Here we go. So what you should be able to see now, everyone, is the Macmillan Learning Hub landing page. And what I'm going to do is bring Sandra down so I can see Sandra as well. Sandra, can I get a thumbs up or just a confirmation that everyone can see the Macmillan Learning Hub?
Yeah, we can see it. It's great.
That's super. So this is the landing page that you would see as a professional once you're signed in. And as I say, apologies in advance if you're already familiar with the Learning Hub. This is the landing page, and what you can see are the 6 main tiles here, which are almost like our shop window, if you like, for everything that sits behind that. So we've got a whole host of information that sits behind these green windows, but based on feedback that we've had from professionals that have access to Hub, we've tried to clean it up as much as possible and keep it as neat and tidy, but we're always looking for additional feedback. So as you can see, we've got cancer information and support, psychological care and communication skills, leadership and professional development, palliative and end-of-life care, personalised care and support planning, and primary community and social care. And what I'm going to take you in just shortly is to the palliative and end-of-life care community. But what I'd like to just show you before we do that is just a bit more information that you can get. So there's a help and support page. You can look at the different communities that are in the hub. You can book an event. The one thing that I would like to also point out today is that whilst we have an e-learning offer, we also offer virtual classrooms and we have webinars too. So that's something, again, that's open to all professionals. So events might be Sage and Time communication skills training. We also have a personalised care community of practice. So there's lots of different events that you might be interested in attending, but you can click on book an event and it can kind of let you know all the types of things that we have on offer. It also tells you any new content. So if you're somebody that's quite familiar with the hub and you want to come back in and just see what's a new addition, you can look at the new content here. And then any upcoming events that might well be as a webinar or as a virtual classroom, that would appear there too. The prospectus is there to download and the professional promise is there. That's actually for Macmillan professionals. There's no harm in you looking at it if you're not a Macmillan professional. But as I say, nothing's closed down to non-Macmillan professionals, for want of a better word. So what I'm going to do is just take you into the palliative and end-of-life care community in the first instance. So this is what you would see when you open up this page. And we have a banner that scrolls across the top, and we've just recently had the last in our expert webinar series of the year, and it was around Conversations Matter, your role in advanced care planning. But that just advertises upcoming events. And then we see more green tiles that takes us in to a bit more information within the community. But what I'd like to do is take you into the Enhanced Palliative and End-of-Life Care Toolkit. So I'm just going to open that up now. So again, what happens when we open that up? It gives the learner a bit more information about what they would expect to see once they enter the toolkit itself. And we've talked already about the different topics that are contained within the toolkit, who it's for, what level it's aimed at, and how you might want to navigate the toolkit. Then as we scroll further down, we can see the different topics that are also contained. And then very similar to the main page is the recently added content. We also have a space for anybody that wants to share any feedback or pop any comments and a join the conversation element. And then there's an opportunity for you to provide feedback, which is absolutely always welcome. So I'm going to take you into the pain management section. And I'm just going to close that down. That's not what I wanted to take you into. Here it is. Excuse me, sorry. So the pain management section. And one of the examples that's within this, so one of these small tiles that has the bite-sized learning is the principles of the WHO analgesic step ladder. So what we've tried to do here is explain the step ladder in quite an interactive and engaging way by getting the learner to click on various components to give you different information about the steps of the ladder, the types of drugs that might be contained at the different steps, why we might use these drugs, looking at breakthrough pain, interventional pain services and non-pharmacological methods of management. So there's quite a lot going on there, but not in the kind of first glimpse. You can actually then start to interact and engage with that particular element. So that's just one example of the engaging elements that we have in this toolkit. Here's another example. This is one of our kind of pride and joy pieces. This is the medicine chest, the medicine cabinet. So what we're suggesting here is to click on the cabinet to open and reveal some of the analgesics that we might commonly use. So if I click on codeine, what it then does is it opens up into another window and we can scroll down why we might decide to use it, some of the general prescribing information, how we might convert that to an opioid, what breakthrough analgesia doses might look like, additional safety or additional information, and maybe other considerations. So once we've had a look at that, we can always return back to the cabinet and maybe then look at another drug to get a bit more information about that. So that's just some of the drugs that we would maybe find commonly used. You'll see that tramadol's there. Tramadol is a bit of a curse in palliative and end-of-life care, as probably many of you might know, but we felt that we had to include tramadol because we wanted to make sure that people would know that the rationale for choice is probably not that, we wouldn't be making that first choice, but we wanted to make sure that it was included for these very reasons. So there is really quite concise prescribing information about the tramadol drug that, as I say, is not our particular friend in palliative and end-of-life care. The other thing that I just want to show you in the pain management section before I just quickly show you another couple of elements of the toolkit is opioid switching and conversion tables. And we know again that that's something that can be quite a bit of a puzzle for generalists and indeed experts, because sometimes we have to go back and just remind ourselves what the conversions are. So we have also developed conversion for different medications, looking at patch conversions, strong opioid to strong opioid, and these can all be downloaded as well. So again, just giving you an idea of the type of resources that you would see. The other thing just to point out is that all our information is evidence-based. We've used guidelines across the UK to help inform what we've done within the toolkit and obviously the rest of our learning hub. And we've also used subject matter experts in the field of palliative and end-of-life care as well. So I'm just going to show you some other parts of the toolkit. I'm just now looking at time and I'm aware that I'm running out of time. We have in the other common symptoms, we have delirium and terminal agitation. I'm just going to close this. We have nausea and vomiting, breathlessness, constipation, oral problems and respiratory secretions in the last days of life as well. So I'm just going to open up another couple just to show you. I'm just going to move this out the way. It's just 2 seconds, bear with me folks. My function button is obscuring my tabs that I've got at the top where I've got everything already prepared. Sorry folks, I'm just seeing how I can move this out the way and it's not letting me do it. No, it's not letting me move it. Right, what I'm going to do is just move to this. So this is just to give you examples really anyway. One of the other components that we have within the toolkit is person-centred care at end of life. And as you can see, when you open up this, it reveals quite a number of different learning products that you can have a look at depending on what you feel might be more important for you when you want to learn more about end of life care and what we do. So this gives you an idea of what's contained within that. And we've based it around different goals, so you can have a look and see there might be particular elements that you want to look at in a bit more detail. So the one that I just want to show you, again, here's one I've prepared earlier. Did have it open and now it's not working, but let me show you this. Okay, so recognising dying. This gives you an idea of, again, more of the interactivity that we have within the Learning Hub. So it's just asking you specific questions, and then you can type in your answers, you can save that, and then you will get a reveal of the suggested answers that we might have for you. As you scroll down as well, we've created a video, and it's an animation, and it talks through the changes that a person may experience in the last months to hours of life as well. And then there's a bit of a summary at the bottom. So again, just a bit more of an example of the interactivity that we would have. So conscious of time, I'm going to take you back to the main landing page and look at the primary care and social care community. And when we go in and have a look at that, it tells you a wee bit about the primary care community and what you might see within there. Now, just to answer a question that came in the chat earlier on about the different roles. So we actually have divided the primary care community into different areas. So actually, depending on what your role is, you might want to go in and have a look at something that says advanced nurse practitioner or paramedic, and you can go in and it gives you an idea of the e-learning modules or webinars, or indeed lesson plans and courses that might be more relevant to your role or skill set. So I think that just answers nicely the question that was posed in the chat box earlier on. So I'm going to stop sharing because I'm aware that we've just about run out of time, and I want to make sure that if anybody has any additional questions that you want to ask. I'm very conscious that there's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what we've got, but I really just wanted to try and give you a bit of a taster of what you might find when you actually come into the Macmillan Learning Hub if you haven't already signed up for it. So I'm just going to stop sharing, and I'm sorry I just wasn't able to show you the bit that I've saved right at the top of my tab because the share element was blocking it for me, so I don't know how I could get rid of that. So sorry about that, everyone. I see there's a question there as well, Sandra.
There is. Yeah. So I was going to say, it's a question from Esther asking how long each module takes to do. I think it's relating to the end of life care modules.
Yes. So again, we've tried to make them as bite-sized as possible, Esther, but for the end of life care modules, we're probably looking at maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But I suppose we have to caveat that because everybody learns differently, and you might want to go into things in quite a bit of detail, and you might be quite a reflective practitioner or learner. So I think it really depends, again, if you want to go into the resources, the hyperlinks that we've set up. So it really would just depend. But probably the whole module in its entirety might be maybe 2 or 3 hours, I would say. If you were talking about the end of life, the palliative care end of life one specifically.
Thank you, that's really helpful. And it's nice to know that you can do bite-sized chunks. So very, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
Thanks. You've got Judith, have you still got your hand up?
Oh, I was, but I figured I was going to be speaking later. But I just wanted to say, Suzanne, that was amazing. It's really informative. And also very cheekily to ask, how do we get our services put on there? I mean, it's a brilliant source of information. So we'd love to hit you up afterwards and have a conversation.
Well, I'm sure Sandra might be able to organise that, Judith. We can see what we can do. We can see what we can do.
Absolutely, that's what all about. It's connecting. So I'll definitely get you to connect it. Right, and then Philippa, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. Really interesting, and just a huge amount of work has clearly gone into that. So I just think it's a really, really impressive piece of work. I've just got 2 points. One is, and this isn't just on this piece of work, but it's on other Macmillan offers. I just wondered what the kind of comms strategy is to get it out there, because it just feels really important. And there are lots of things like this that I've seen on Macmillan's website, which I think have been fantastic. And I'm just not sure it gets out sufficiently to an audience to have an impact. And I just wondered what the thinking is on that. And then my second point very quickly is thinking about diverse communities and their different ideas around end of life and around death and dying and talking to families and stuff. And I just wondered how much within this toolkit that is incorporated into kind of the challenges and the kind of things that might need to be considered when working with different communities as well.
Yes, so I'll come to your first point first, Philippa, around the comms offer. So because so specifically the toolkit itself, it has been launched in stages. So we've been working on the toolkit for well over a year, and we have been wherever people would like us to talk, we have done that. So we've promoted it at our professionals conferences, we've promoted it at various conferences across the UK, UCons, our newsletters, Macmillan, anybody that will listen to us to try and promote it, we will. So we've collated almost a repository of people that we've spoken to. But if you have any ideas as to how else we might be able to market this, please let me know, and I will be popping contact details in the chat. We want to spread the word. We want to, we're not in competition with anybody, because we know that there's lots of wonderful resources out there, and I think there's enough for everybody. So we want to try and, do what we can to offer what we've got. And we know that there are other offers out there as well, but we just want to share it. It's a free offer. I'm happy to do that. To your second response about the kind of thinking about diversity, that is something that's on our radar, absolutely, day in and day out in Macmillan. We're very conscious of, particularly when we're thinking about meeting the needs of someone at end of life, about cultural, spiritual, all of these issues that are really, really important. So what we've tried to do when we've developed a toolkit, there's a generalist approach because we're trying to meet 4 nations. And we know that by meeting 4 nations, within these 4 nations, that is equity, diversity and inclusion. And we have to think about that. But there might be something else that in fact, there is always something else that we can be doing to make it more inclusive. So that is something that's absolutely on our radar. But what we also try and do is make sure that the resources that we have include different cultures, religions, needs, depending what that person might need at end of life as well.
Thanks, Suzanne. So I'm just mindful of the time. I can see there's one more hand, but Deborah, would you mind popping your question into the chat so just so we can move on and Suzanne can answer your question? Hope that's okay.
Absolutely,
So,
no problem.